Picture this: it's midnight in medieval London, and while honest citizens sleep safely behind locked doors, William the Night Watchman begins his lonely patrol through streets that transform into a different world when darkness falls. Armed with nothing but a wooden staff, a flickering lantern, and a horn to call for help, he walks through narrow alleys where criminals lurk, past timber houses that could burst into flames at any moment, and around corners where wild dogs and even wolves might be scavenging for food. Every sound could signal danger, every shadow might conceal a threat, and every step brings him closer to encounters that could end in violence or death. This isn't the peaceful, contemplative work that modern people imagine, but a dangerous profession that required constant vigilance, physical courage, and the psychological strength to face unknown dangers alone in the dark. His workday begins when others ends, and his responsibility for community safety continues until dawn brings relief and the chance to sleep, while the rest of the city awakens to face their own daily challenges. The daily life of a medieval night watchman was built around a schedule that inverted normal human rhythms, requiring adaptation to nocturnal existence while maintaining alertness and effectiveness during hours when natural human energy and attention were at their lowest levels. These weren't just security guards walking predetermined routes, but community protectors who combined law enforcement, fire prevention, emergency response, and public health monitoring into comprehensive safety services that kept medieval cities functioning during their most vulnerable hours. Medieval night watchmen began their workdays in late afternoon, using daylight hours to prepare equipment, coordinate with day shift personnel, and receive briefings about specific threats, ongoing investigations, or community concerns that required attention during the coming night. This preparation phase was crucial because mistakes in equipment readiness or information sharing could have fatal consequences when problems arose during dark hours, with no immediate backup available. The physical preparation for night watch duty involved checking and maintaining the primitive equipment that watchmen depended on for detection, communication, and self-defense during their patrols. Lanterns required careful preparation with quality oil, proper wicks, and protective housing that could withstand weather conditions while providing reliable illumination throughout 12-hour shifts. Staffs and clubs needed inspection for damage that could cause them to fail during confrontations with criminals or dangerous animals. But here's where medieval night watchmen become truly fascinating. They weren't just individual guards working alone, but members of organized systems that coordinated multiple watchmen across entire cities using communication networks and patrol schedules that provided comprehensive coverage while maintaining cost efficiency for municipal budgets. Watch guilds established professional standards, training requirements, and operational procedures that transformed night security from casual labor into skilled trades. The routes assigned to medieval night watchmen were carefully planned to maximize coverage, while ensuring that guards could reach each other quickly when emergencies required coordinated responses. Routes intersected at specific points and times that allowed watchmen to verify each other's safety while sharing information about suspicious activities or developing problems that required attention from multiple personnel. Communication between watchmen relied on horn signals, bell codes, and vocal calls that could transmit essential information across medieval cities. Despite the absence of modern communication technology, these systems required memorization of complex signal meanings and coordination protocols that allowed rapid response to fires, crimes, and other emergencies that threatened community safety. The types of threats that medieval night watchmen faced were far more varied and dangerous than modern security personnel encounter, ranging from organized criminal gangs and individual thieves to house fires that could destroy entire neighborhoods and wild animals that entered cities seeking food or shelter. Each type of threat required different response techniques and varying levels of personal risk that watchmen had to assess and manage continuously throughout their shifts. Criminal activity peaked during nighttime hours, when darkness provided cover for theft, assault, and other illegal activities that threatened both property and personal safety. Night watchmen developed techniques for detecting suspicious behavior, approaching potentially dangerous individuals, and determining when situations required immediate intervention versus continued observation and evidence gathering. Fire prevention and detection represented perhaps the most critical aspect of night watch duties, because medieval cities built primarily from wood and thatch could be completely destroyed by fires that started small but spread rapidly through connected buildings and narrow streets. Watchmen learned to recognize early signs of fire development, understand wind patterns that affected fire spread, and coordinate emergency responses that could save entire neighborhoods from destruction. The seasonal challenges of medieval night watch work created dramatically different working conditions that required adaptation to weather extremes, varying daylight hours, and seasonal patterns of criminal activity that changed throughout the year. Winter nights lasting 14 hours in northern climates tested human endurance limits, while summer brought different challenges from increased criminal activity and fire risks during hot, dry weather. Winter night watch required survival techniques that kept watchmen functional despite freezing temperatures, snow and ice, that made patrol routes dangerous while reducing visibility and making communication between watchmen difficult. Watchmen developed clothing strategies, warming techniques, and route modifications that allowed them to maintain effectiveness despite brutal weather conditions. Summer night watch brought challenges from increased criminal activity as warmer weather encouraged people to stay outside later and travel at night, creating more opportunities for theft and violence. Hot weather also increased fire risks from cooking accidents and spontaneous combustion of stored materials, requiring increased vigilance and faster emergency response times. The social status of medieval night watchmen reflected their unique position as essential community protectors who worked during hours when most people slept, creating both respect for their service and social isolation due to their inverted daily schedules. Night watchmen often formed their own social communities, centered around shared work experiences and mutual understanding of the challenges associated with nocturnal employment. Professional night watchmen could achieve reasonable incomes and community respect through their specialized services, particularly in wealthy neighborhoods where property owners paid premium rates for enhanced security coverage. However, the physical and psychological demands of night work, combined with the dangers of their profession, meant that many watchmen had relatively short careers that ended due to injury, illness, or the accumulated stress of nocturnal existence. The training system for medieval night watchmen involved apprenticeships that combined practical skill development with psychological preparation for a career spent alone in dangerous situations where split-second decisions could determine life or death outcomes for themselves and community members. Master watchmen taught apprentices not just patrol techniques and emergency procedures, but also the mental strategies necessary to maintain alertness and courage during long, dark hours. Guild training programs established standards for physical fitness, equipment proficiency, and emergency response capabilities that ensured watchmen could handle the full range of situations they might encounter during their careers. Training included combat techniques for self-defense and criminal apprehension, fire suppression methods for emergency response, and communication protocols for coordinating with other watchmen and municipal authorities. Urban night watch systems in large medieval cities required coordination between multiple watchmen, municipal authorities, and guild organizations to provide comprehensive security coverage while managing costs and maintaining professional standards. City watch systems developed hierarchical command structures, standardized equipment requirements, and performance evaluation procedures that maintained service quality while providing career advancement opportunities for exceptional personnel. Rural night watch served scattered communities across wide geographical areas, requiring watchmen to cover larger territories with less backup support, while addressing threats that included not just human criminals but also dangerous animals and natural disasters that posed greater risks in isolated areas. Rural watchmen often served multiple communities and had to maintain relationships with various local authorities while managing practical challenges of working in remote locations. The equipment used by medieval night watchmen was surprisingly sophisticated given the technological limitations of the period, representing centuries of development aimed at maximizing effectiveness while maintaining cost efficiency for municipal budgets. Different regions developed specialized equipment adapted to local conditions, threats, and available materials that influenced watchman effectiveness and survival rates. Lantern technology represented crucial equipment that determined watchman ability to detect threats, navigate safely, and signal other personnel during emergencies. The most advanced lanterns used multiple wicks, reflective surfaces, and protective housings that maximized light output, while protecting flames from weather conditions that could extinguish illumination at critical moments. Weapon selection for night watchmen balanced effectiveness against cost and legal considerations that varied between different municipalities and social classes. Clubs and staffs provided non-lethal options for crowd control and criminal deterrence, while some watchmen carried knives or short swords for situations requiring deadly force to protect themselves or community members. The legal authority granted to medieval night watchmen varied significantly between different cities and regions, affecting their ability to investigate crimes, detain suspects, and use force when necessary to maintain public safety. Some watchmen had broad police powers that allowed them to arrest criminals and conduct investigations, while others were limited to observation and reporting roles that required coordination with other authorities for law enforcement actions. Municipal regulations governing night watch operations established standards for patrol schedules, emergency response procedures, and coordination with other city services that ensured comprehensive coverage while avoiding conflicts between different agencies. These regulations also addressed liability issues, compensation structures, and professional conduct requirements that protected both watchmen and the communities they served. The decline of traditional night watch systems resulted from urbanization, improved street lighting, and the development of professional police forces that provided more comprehensive law enforcement services than part-time watchmen could offer. However, many traditional night security techniques and community protection principles continue to influence modern security practices and emergency response systems. Medieval night watch practices established precedents for modern security services, emergency response protocols, and community policing approaches that continue to influence contemporary public safety operations. The emphasis on local knowledge, community relationships, and preventive patrol techniques evolved directly from medieval watchman traditions that recognized the importance of visible security presence in deterring criminal activity. Most importantly, medieval night watchmen demonstrated that community safety requires dedicated individuals, willing to sacrifice personal comfort and accept significant risks to protect others during society's most vulnerable hours. They proved that effective security depends more on human courage, local knowledge, and community commitment than on advanced technology or large organizational resources. So what did a medieval night watchman's daily life look like? It was a carefully structured routine that inverted normal human schedules to provide essential community protection during hours when darkness created opportunities for criminals, disasters, and other threats that endangered sleeping populations. They worked as professional guardians who combined multiple safety functions into comprehensive services that kept medieval cities functioning despite the dangers that emerged when night fell. They understood that their work required both physical courage and psychological resilience to face unknown dangers alone, while maintaining the alertness and judgment necessary to protect entire communities from threats that could destroy lives and property within minutes. They proved that meaningful public service can be provided under the most challenging circumstances when it serves genuine community needs and is performed with dedication, skill, and unwavering commitment to public safety. The next time you appreciate well-lit streets, professional police protection, or the security of modern emergency response systems, remember the medieval night watchmen who walked dark, dangerous streets, armed with nothing but primitive equipment and personal courage, standing guard over sleeping communities, while facing threats that could emerge from any shadow or doorway during the long, lonely hours between sunset and dawn. If you enjoy the hidden sides of medieval life, hit subscribe and give this video a like.